Hey everyone, hello. It's Cheryl from Tinker's Card Art, and I thought I would pop on today for a quick little live segment with you. It's Monday, and I just wanted to catch up, and I have a request from Charlotte to go over how I do my little broken color sunset. And it's a kind of a cool technique. It's not something that I always use, but I do like using those little bits of broken color sometimes. So I'm going to just do a quick demo. This was last minute. I just jumped on. I know I didn't give anybody any notice, but anyways, you might see me here and you might pop in, and then the recording will be here as well. So do say hello if you come in. And I'm just going to work in acrylics today. There's a couple of different ways I do these little broken color skies. I do them as daytime skies. I don't have any other samples around, but you've seen me do them on my page. And this one was a sunset. So you can see, hi, Charlotte, there she is. So I'm going to go over this with you. And if you have any questions or whatnot, just put them in here and we'll go back and forth. And that way, I thought instead of just doing this little video for Charlotte, I would do it for all of you to see. So it's just little brush strokes. I use a flat brush and I just put little brush strokes of color there. You can see I did it also on the sand. I like the contrast of the horizontal lines for the water when I do these paintings. This one I did with all just palette knife. So it's the same idea. I just used a palette knife. I have a palette knife with a little square end, but this one was just with a regular palette knife, you might have already. And I just simply did the same technique I'm going to show you, but I just dabbed it with the palette knife. So that's kind of a fun way to paint sometimes. It's very loose and painterly, which I like. And other times I get really more precise and more like an illustration, but it's fun to mix up all of the different types of methods, I guess. And I'd love to see what you do with these things too. So you can use a combination of it. Sometimes I blend really well. Sometimes I work a little bit more with the broken color. As a matter of fact, I'm going to grab a painting I just picked up that really shows you when I did the whole background with the broken color. So let me just hold this up for you. Let me just change my screen around a little bit so you can see it. And then we'll get into the actual demo. So this was a painting where the whole painting, except for the water again, with the horizontal lines, this is the first time I did a whole painting using the broken color, which I kind of like. This is a painting I did this weekend. I'm not finished yet, but I was out doing a plein air painting, and I was over in Tarpon Springs. And if you guys follow me, you know I love to plein air paint. And I have been incorporating a little bit of my broken color skies and things in this. So this painting has the broken color on the sky and a little on the boat. I'm not finished, but you can see I was putting little bits of broken color in the background here. Instead of looking through and painting every detail that your eye can see, it gets tedious and overworked and too detailed. Sometimes I just go with that little square brush and I just lay in little strokes this way and that. And once I'm done with that, it's just going to look like some buildings and whatnot back there, but not having to struggle with all the bits. So anyway, it's a fun way to paint. I'll do a little more as we go along. It's not too long that I've been doing this sort of thing. And so I'll do more lessons and things with that if you'd like. But let's just work on this little sunset sky for now. And I've just got my sunset colors out, and white, yellow, orange we don't really need. We can just certainly mix our red and yellow for that. I've got a quinacridone magenta. It's kind of a pink, and then some colors in case we go into doing the water. We'll see about that. I've just a little tiny canvas. It's a little gallery wrapped, which I really like these guys because they sit on the shelf. They hang on the wall. You can do a lot with them. This was painted on a wood panel. Sometimes I like the smooth surface of the wood panel, especially when I'm using these little broken color strokes. So any questions, please throw them out there. I'm going to watch as we go. I know we have some people here, and I appreciate it. It was a little last minute thing. So please say hello. Let me know where you're watching from, and then it feels a little more like you guys are here. So again, like little flat brushes, I like it. I like the smaller ones for some of the little bits. If I'm doing that big painting, I can go with this one, and sometimes I go really big into a really good size flat. They're all acrylic flats, not expensive brushes, but with this square brush, you want to have I'd like to have a nice stroke that's not all scraggly. So I try to keep my brushes in good shape. That's not always the case, but you like to have some that give you a nice chisel edge for that. So I'm going to just start with the sunset in the middle. And I'm going to work out, and I'm going to keep a paper towel in my hand because I like to dry off, pull off some of the color as I go. And because this is going pretty much from the light to the dark, I may not have to really wash my brush. I may just pull it off. And I apologize, this camera is right in my face here, but I want it to be close up so you can really see what I'm working on. Hey, Alice, thanks for popping in. Alrighty, so it's white canvas, so I'm going to do a very light yellow sun so that we can at least see where it is. I'm going to go to my smaller brush because that's what I'm going to want to use. So I'm going to pull this over. I like to have you see my palette too as I work. Just got a paper palette here. I've got a little bit of clean water. And I'm taking a little yellow, but I want it to be pretty light. And I'm just going to establish where my sun is. So let's make it kind of up here. Sometimes I don't like to put things smack dab in the center. Although if it's a sunset like this one, closer to the horizon, that's kind of nice too. And Charlotte, let me know if this is what you have the question on and if this is making sense. Charlotte did a beautiful painting, this beautiful painting with this kind of a sky already. But I'm just going to go over with her a little bit on how I actually did it. I'm going to go out with the yellow around that a little bit. And I'm probably going to make it a little lighter. I'm going to make my a little bit lighter yellow than what's on here. But what it's going to do is go from the yellow to the orange to a little red. And then I go into a pinky purple. You can see the difference in these two. This is kind of a more deeper plum purple. This is kind of turned into more blue. I just have fun with it, and I just sort of see where it goes. So let's just get some yellow on the brush now because it's going to get a little deeper out here. It's going to have a little bit of orange, just a little bit. Now it's acrylic paint, so it does dry rather fast. So I work wet and wet, and I'm going to work my way out. So you can see I'm making sort of little strokes, but I'm going to go on top of this and really get those little broken color strokes. I just want to get out here and get a little bit darker as I go. You can see I'm laying my brush down a little bit using those strokes, but when I come in after and just make nice, really thoughtfully placed strokes, you're going to get that look of the little blotches of color. And I'm just going to go and get a little deeper each time. So I'm going to go into my orange mostly and a tiny bit of red. I want to just get the color base there, and then I'm going to come back and use the little strokes of color. Just want to get something under there, a little underpainting. If I was going with a big painting, I probably would go right in with my big brush and start that. But I want to do this a little bit more methodical for you so that you can see what I'm doing. Okay, and I'm going to leave it with the orangey yellows and worry about getting into the purples afterwards. I've picked up a lot of the dark color there, and I want to get back into the light, so I am going to quickly just rinse my brush off. I'm going into just the yellow now just to kind of get back to that nice blend that I want. And it's a little darker, which is nice because my lighter blocks of color are going to show up on that. And I might just take white now and just because get that a little blended where my sun is. I don't want it to be too harsh of a line. So that's going to be the sun. And now I'm going to go with lighter colors on top. So I'm going to keep wiping my brush off so I don't pick up so much dark. I'm going to go into making a light yellow again. So we'll get that mixed up here. I want it nice and mixed. I mix it right with my brush. I load it on there a little bit heavy because I want to get some nice strokes. And it's a little wet still, so I may let that dry a tiny bit because it's not really going to show up that well till I get that underpainting to dry a little bit. But I can get a little bit on there. Can you see how I'm going for the light sun and then just kind of bringing some of that out? Okay, I'm going to let that dry a tiny bit. I will work on getting out into the purple for now because that way it'll give that a chance to dry. Now, if you like the look of the one with the palette knife, it's the same sort of thing, only I'll do it on here just to show you because I can smooth it out. I would just be using the same techniques, but I'm dabbing it with the palette knife. You get enough paint on there, you can make those little, they're not perfectly square, like, not that these are perfect, but not square. I'm just making little dabs. and it really makes for a nice, cool, textured painting. All right, let me get the little bit outside edge done here. I might go to a little bigger brush just to get through that, and then this will dry. Again, it's acrylic, so it dries pretty quick. I do like painting with acrylic. I try to paint a little quickly so I can have some blending time. There are mediums, though, and I'm going to start using, when I'm out plein air painting, my paint's drying pretty quick. I am going to start putting like a slow drying medium in my paint. So I've got red here. Now, I'm going to really mix my own purpley colors. I'm going to take a little quinacridone magenta and some blue, and that'll give me, excuse me, a nice purple. My allergies are awful today. I don't know what's out there in the air. Okay, so now I'm going to start getting a little purple. Pretty different from the red, orange. So I want to really go in with the dry brush and sort of blend that a little bit now. Sorry about the voice. Boy, oh boy, it's crazy. Okay, see if I can talk. Okay, I'm going to get a little lighter with some white. You can see I'm using a square brush tail, but I am doing this sort of crisscrossy thing just to get the base coat and get it a little blended. This will all be covered with my little strokes afterwards. So I'm going to just get that on fairly quick so I can get it to blend. I don't want to go too light because I want my lighter bits on top to show. I hope this is making sense for you. It's just sort of a little method that I've been working in lately, and people have asked about it, so I am sort of sharing that here. And it's almost like a little guideline for us when we go on with our little broken bits of color now. And I'm going to just rinse that off, and it looks kind of crazy, I know, but let's go on top now. That's a little dry, and if it's not quite, I'll just hit it with my heat gun, which I have handy here. And I'm going to start and go from the light yellow in, working into orange. A little bit of the red underpainting will show through, but I'm going to mostly do yellow-orange for my little blocks of color. So can you see I'm sort of not, I want to say precisely placing them, not precisely like I know where they're going, but I'm using like just mark making, just little strokes, each stroke, deliberate, I guess I want to say. Maybe that's the word I'm looking for, like deliberate strokes. So I've gone very light yellow there. I'm going straight yellow now. Again, it's the brush is key because it's got a nice little square tip to it, and I just place, place, place. Do not worry about, oh, it's not exactly placed where you put it. It doesn't matter. You just want to get a blend from a lighter yellow into a darker, maybe now into an orange, which, again, the orange is not so necessary. I could have just used my red and yellow to blend and get the orange color. I'm putting the orange on here. It's very close to the color underneath. It's not really showing, but I want to sort of straighten out this side a little. So I'm going to place a little orange on there. As I'm going, I might just mix yellow with that orange. It needs to be a little lighter, for instance. I'm just looking to get it to show up off the background, but I don't mind starting sort of subtly. You see it a little bit, it's kind of blending, and then I can get brighter. Then I can take my orange, get a little more yellow in it. Paint is a little thick on the brush here so that I can lay it down and have it cover. So it's a little heavy, and I'm sort of just, again, deliberate little strokes of broken color. Fun technique. Now that looked a little too yellow to me, so I'll just kind of brush it a little bit. And maybe a little white in there just to kind of get it to really show up some of those strokes. I've got a lot of dark here, and I'd like to sometimes just place a little bit of a light one here and there on top. You can see more than what I'm talking about. So I've got some little bits of light color. And I look at it, it's like, oh, you know what? I could use a little more of the stronger yellow here and there. step back or squint, and if you see that it's sort of blending from, the yellow into the orange, softly. You don't want like a harsh start of purple here. I sort of blend it a little bit. To start blending into that purple, I'm going to use red or the magenta to sort of pave the way. So I might do a few strokes like this of the broken color, just to kind of start blending into the purple. I don't want to jump right into the purple, but because I use the magenta to blend, or you can use the red, it will sort of soften the way into the dark. Hope it's making sense to you. I might go with some of the straight magenta here a little bit. Again, I want a little darker underneath so I can get lighter on top. Let's add a little white to that, see what we get to that purple. It was a very darker purple, but I might want to get a little lighter. That's a little blue. I don't hate it, though. You can see I have some very dark, almost blues. Well, let's do this. You can see it's some of the light. Whoops. poor little flamingo losing himself there. So I do have some dark ones, so I'm going to make a few dark out here. This is pretty much a phthalo blue, tiny bit of magenta in it maybe. And then I'm just mixing and trying the colors. This might be too dark, so let me get a little more magenta, maybe some white. I want to get some lighter. I don't mind some pink tones in there, but look, I put it on and it's the same as my background. So that's not going to work, so I just add more white to my brush. You can do as little, you can leave them just like it is there. You don't have to do too many. Sometimes I just sort of layer on top of one another a little bit. Maybe some other shades. Let me try a little of the red with the white and see if I get a different pink that might be kind of nice. Not loving it. It's a very cold, harsh red. I find that I get a better pink and a better purple when I use the quinacridone magenta. Let's get a lighter pink with that. There, that's much prettier. Sometimes if you're going to mix your own purples and you mix your red and your blue, which you think you should do, and you come out with really a grayed down purple, it's the red. So I use a magenta to mix up with my blue to get my purples. Oh, we've got a good amount of people watching who just happened to find us. So welcome, welcome. If I'm new to you, I'm Cheryl from Tinker's Cart Art, and I teach acrylic painting here online. Charlotte's one of my members in my art membership, which I have an art membership. If you want to paint with me monthly, we have a blast. It looks to me a little like it's too, okay, we went to orange and to the red, now we're into the purple, and it's not as blended as I like. So what I need to do is bring some of these colors in a little and send some of the lights out, just to give it, see how these little yellow ones are out here, orangey ones? So I'm just going to go in a little bit, maybe with some of my more pinks. Just going to go in here and there just to bring that in a bit. I might need one shade lighter out here, just a few. Now, if you are putting your little squares on and the color from underneath is sort of getting into them, let the bottom layer dry or hit it with your hair dryer or something like that. And now I'm going to go back into some of my warm colors, and I'm going to just put a few out here. And can you see how that now is just sort of blending a little more? It's bringing that center bit out a little bit. It doesn't need a lot. And then I just want to lighten up my sun in the middle so that we can see it. Now I'm going to try just lightening it up rather than outlining it like this so strong, but I'm going to see how it looks. I may just need to go back and outline it, but I can try just some little lighter blocks of white, which is more in the idea that I did with the palette knife one. I know it's a little glary. The paint is a little shiny on this. I think I have a varnish. But you could do it like that, or you could go ahead and make your whole circle again with the yellow if you wanted it more graphic that way. And again, this is even, the white is showing up. It's a little difficult for some reason for the white to show up. So I'm going to just tone it down a little with some light yellow. But then you just go ahead and get it however you like it. It's fun little, this is just a quick little video just to show you how I get that broken color. What do you think, Charlotte? Does that make sense to you? And you don't want to overwork it. I could go and keep dabbing colors here and there, but you really don't need to. So that is what I do for the skies, you guys. Any questions about that part, just let me know. But if you'd like, I could throw a little water on there just to show you how I go ahead and contrast the horizontal strokes and then putting a little highlight in the reflection in the water of the sunset. And then for the sand, I just did the same thing with just a yellow ochre and some lighter yellows, and I just did a little underpainting of some of the darks and some lights. Then I went and got the detail with little strokes from my brush, just deliberate little strokes. And that's how I did that. But let's put a little bit of the water on here because I just like the contrast. I think it works of some water going back and forth. Oh, thank you guys. Hi, Carol. Thank you so much. I love the color for the water I get when I use a phthalo green and a phthalo blue. I cannot get these colors in my craft paints, but with a Liquitex or a golden fluid, I get, and same with the magenta. So I do love the quinacridone magenta. I get it in golden fluids or Liquitex. I have a few basic colors of these brands that I use because I cannot find the equivalent in the craft paints. I cannot find a color that will blend like this for me for this teal and turquoisey water. I use phthalo green, a little phthalo blue, and it's going to be a little dark here, but let me show you, when you add some white to that, you can get any of those beautiful shades of teal that you are always buying all of the bottles of, and I am the same. I love them all, but it's super easy to mix them. I'm just using my flatbread, no, it's lunchtime almost, but flat brush, chisel edge. And then I'm going to grab a little bit more color because I just put out tiny little dabs. So let me get a little more white out here because I used a lot of it I contaminated a lot of it. A little more blue. So the quinacridone magenta is lovely. I use that when I'm plein air painting, and for a lot of paintings, I do a quinacridone underpainting, and then I let little sparkles of the pink show through, but it makes beautiful purples with the phthalo blue. So if we get some white in there now, look at the lovely shades of teal that you can get. You can get real Caribbean, water there. You could get less white. You get some nice New England, the water we have up in Maine. So I get just horizontal strokes back and forth. I might just go down to here. I may put a little bit of sand there later. I'll turn this into a little painting of some sort. And then I just drag. I want some lights and darks, just chisel edge. Although if it's a little difficult for you with the chisel edge, just feel free to use a little liner brush. A little liner brush would work too. I love the versatility of a flat though. If you get a nice flat, you don't need much else. You can use it for fine lines and broad strokes. And I want to get a little dark blue, and I didn't give myself enough blue. I was kind of being stingy with my paint there. Usually I put out way too much paint and really kind of waste it. So I'm kind of proud of myself for just putting a little at a time. So I do see the back and forth strokes. This is how it starts, just back and forth. Then I can just get some nice white highlights, even if it's just on the tip of the little corner of the brush, and I can just kind of bring that across. Really simple. If you can just go right across, it's kind of like a little white cap, or you could stop and start, and it's almost like a little wave. And when that is dry, I will go and start getting in a little highlight. It's still too wet, of the sunset that I just painted. So we'll let that dry a tiny bit. Sometimes I'll even get a little lime green in there. So let's do that while we're waiting. A little of the yellow. It's a primary yellow again. Liquitex primary yellow. I really like the way that gives me a lime green with your phthalo green. Look at all the shades. You don't need all the bottled greens. You could get a beautiful lime green here with your blue and your yellow. Actually, I might not even need the phthalo so much. Also, a little bit of Payne's Gray will give you a real dark green. Or my favorite way to get a dark green, and let me show it to you while we're kind of waiting for things to dry. Look, you add the complementary color to the color that you're trying to dull down or darken. But if I go ahead and get this green here and I add a little red or magenta to it, I can get a really dark green. Or if you want an olive green, so, not such a bright Kelly green, if you want an olive green, a little bit of magenta or red will give you these really earthy tones. A little more magenta, you get really a dark, dark green. Look at the shades of green you could get just with a couple colors, just phthalo blue and your primary yellow, and then a little of your, because green and red are complementary colors, opposite on the color wheel. I go with the magenta to deepen it, but red works. It's kind of fun to start color mixing. You'll get some very unique shades, and you will, if you use fewer colors in your painting and mix, you're going to have a more cohesive painting because things are going to all sort of blend a little bit. Hey, Donna, hello. Thank you for being here. Nice to see you guys. Okay, where was I? Oh, so if I want to get a little highlight now, that water's kind of dark, I may just go in with white and just kind of go back and forth. I'm using the white almost as a base because I'll put some yellow on top of it. But if I went with yellow on top of the blue water, yellow is so transparent it would never show up. So we would need to, undercoat it. So if I'm painting something, I don't know, yellow flower over a dark background, I would always go in with the white and underpaint it first. And some of this can be left showing. And then I just use the colors. Ideally, that would be dry. I'm going to just dry it real quick because I want you to see that, how I do that. So let me just quickly just dry that white. And then I'm going to go on with just look at what you see in your sky that you want to reflect. You're going to have some light yellow. And I'm just going to kind of put it in there across, like maybe almost like it's a little circle of the sun, so I won't do it, I'll just put it like there. And then a little orange or a little stronger yellow. You can see I just threw some of those colors in. I think that this white is too much on here. Let's kind of dull that down a little bit because it's really the sun reflecting, which is yellow. So that gave me a chance to kind of correct that painting a tiny bit. Yeah, and then I'm just going to get some of those yellows, maybe a little orange, kind of almost on the edges. I don't want it that dark. I want a little lighter. Again, I'm using kind of a big brush. You could go to a smaller one if you wanted. I would always finish up with the little white lines on top just to almost break that up. And it's almost like it could be a little white cap. So I'm just going to just dab a little bit of white on top. And here's one of my favorite things. And you may or may not see them, but some days you really see those little sparkles in the water. It's one of my favorite things to throw in, little sparkles. You could do it with the tip of your brush. You could do it with a toothpick. I don't do a ton of it. A little bit will do. Get a little tiny, I'll just use the tip of this brush. And kind of maybe where there's like a little white cap or something, or just sparkles random. Like I just go in and I just do some little sparkles. And I don't know, I just love the way it looks. And I'll show you on the painting underneath here because it'll show up a little more. But I just add little sparkles in there. Like you see here on this guy. See the little sparkles here and there? And I think I'll add a little bit of the purpley pink out there too, because here and there, sometimes I like to add color, maybe where it even isn't, but just to make my paintings a little more colorful. But there is a little purple in that sky, little pink, whatever. All these colors are up here, so I may just do some little thin lines of that. Experiment with your paintings. If you don't like it, it's acrylic paint. You can paint right over it. It's not a big deal. So there. So that's the little broken color sky. And if there's any questions, let me know because I'm here. And you could paint them with palm trees. You could paint a flamingo, a heron. You could leave it just like this. I think I may just put a little bit of the sand color on. And we have a few minutes. If you guys want to hang on and do it, then this little guy's almost finished. And then just some grasses coming up. I would just put grasses in. We don't need a flamingo. So I love a yellow ochre color to start for my sand. I also like an ivory, and I use the Deco Art Buttermilk a lot for that. I use yellow ochre, golden ochre for it, but just a little quick to show you how quick and easy it is to mix a yellow ochre if you want it. Is super easy too. So again, you don't have to have all the colors. And I'm just going to show you real quick, even though I have it in the bottle. But if you just take your yellow, primary yellow, or in this case, it's a Hansa yellow, opaque, and golden, and you just mix tiniest touch of alizarin crimson there, you can get some beautiful golds. Isn't that a nice gold? And it's just a little richer maybe than, you know, this one's good too. This is out of the bottle, and that's very close. But just to show you how it's not a mystery with all the colors. You can mix pretty much anything. Sometimes just sit down and play around, jot little notes, do it in a sketchbook maybe, and what you mix, because I remember now what I mixed for a lot of colors, but I still have to go back and kind of look at my notes sometimes. Hey, Gloria, nice to see you. How are you? Okay, so I would start a little darker. We're just going to paint something that looks like this. Let's just get where we want this to be. I usually do a little darker and get a little lighter on the top. I might just take a little of that. This is the this is ivory, the buttermilk, which I like. Again, you could use take your white, a tiny bit of the yellow ochre you made, and you're going to have that ivory color too. So let me just get an underpainting here. And I'm going to just go ahead and do just what we did on this guy. Take that little flat brush. I have favorite, it's kind of super inexpensive. It's Princeton. I just bought some new ones. No, I'm sorry. Royal & Langnickel. It's on the clear handles. I got them at Michael's. They're honestly like maybe $5. And this is a filbert, which I just bought because I like that for making petals. That's a little rounded as opposed to just the flat. But I do love them, and they're comfortable. They have this little grippy thing here, and they're pretty cool. They have a little, the way the edge is, you could do some scratching out or sgraffito if you needed to. So just going into my darker color to start, and I'm just placing these little squares. Now, I know you don't see it so much on the very bottom, but just put them on there where you need. And all I'm going to do is mix with my ivory to make different shades of that same color. So the lighter ones, of course, will show up more down below where it's still darker. I may go with a little white in that ivory color just to get a little lighter at top. I can see my blue under there, so it's going to take a couple of coats. So I might just put that on there and let that sit a little bit. It's not very much, you don't see it on your end really, but on my end I can see a little of the watercolor showing through. So I'm just going to go back and just do these little strokes. And this is such a small painting that I just need a little grasses maybe. I'm not going to get real fancy. I usually will paint the edges a contrasting color or a dark color. Sometimes I just wrap the painting around the edge. These guys I just kind of did just a paint gray. But for grasses, now we can use our dark green that we were making. And again, I'm going to just add some quinacridone to that to get a really dark. Many things when I paint, most things, I start really dark and then work up, and then you can put those, because it's acrylic, you can put those nice light highlights on afterwards, which is kind of cool. And so anyways, we're going to go ahead with some dark green, and then I just get lighter. And Gloria, I'm great. Thank you. I'm in Florida now. I moved down here and I love it. I'll head back up to Maine for the summer, but I'm really enjoyed the winter down here. Same brush, little flat, chisel edge. You can get nice thin lines. You can just kind of get those little grasses in there. Hi, Rilla and Linda. Thank you guys for popping in. I saw Cora up there too. Great to have you here. So it's very dark blue there, and then I just get a little lighter as I go. Of course, you may have to sometimes just wait for it to dry a little bit, but sometimes I like dragging that darker color in. So I'm slightly lighter, slightly. I'd rather get just a little lighter and sort of a subtle change in the value. And now I'll just add more yellow and get brighter. And I'm using the same brush and I'm not washing it off. I'm just wiping it off and going into the lighter colors, and it's working fine. I've got kind of a lime green now. I'll add white to this. That really makes the color more opaque, a little white in it, and then it'll really show up too. So you can kind of see I'm going from a very dark to light, a little white into that. It's like an apple green, like a lime green. If I let it dry and did this on top, although it's drying super fast because it's such a thin line. But if I needed to let it dry, I could just give it a minute Now on this, and I really like the way a light blue sometimes looks. And maybe, do I see light blue in the grasses? Sometimes I do see all kinds of colors, reflections of the sky and reflections of things around it, and I exaggerate that. So I'm going to go and get a little bit of a light blue. If I have any clean blue left at all, I'm going to put a little light blue in there too. I'm going to get it even wider and exaggerate so that you can see it on your end, because otherwise it's kind of hard to see. And I'm starting at the base. I always start at the base for my grasses, or for hair, or for fur, and a little more pressure when I start, and get a little lighter pressure, and that gives me that thin kind of a grass blade. Now again, it's easy to do too with your liner brush, which would be just, again, a little pressure and just bring it up. So that is basically it. I'm going to go back now in a few little strokes on my sand again. I just want to get in and just a few light strokes towards the water. Get it in a little more of a yellow, some tones. Yeah, that's about it. That's about all I would do. So what do you guys think? Just a different technique for you to try, right? Pretty cool. So that is that. Again, try it with a palette knife if you want. Really, this was just the palette knife, like for the trees, for instance, you need something thinner, or for blades of grass, I use the side. I pick up the paint and just tap the side of my palette knife out. Here, I would tap it down and maybe pull it a little bit. Really fun to play around with the palette knife too. It's a small painting, but you might want to do something really big, and that's kind of fun. I've got some big palette knives sometimes I use, so depending on the size of the painting. So that's it. So I showed you what I was working on a little bit, my plein air piece from this weekend. Now I'm recording. Charlotte, you probably know this, but for my membership, the painting that's coming out today is a recording. So we have 3 meetings a month, 2 lives, 1 recorded. It varies though. And this is the painting that I'm going to switch this over. And this is recorded, you guys, so you can come back to it. And if you have any questions, put it in the comments. I'll always come back and answer them. But we're doing this painting in the membership. It's just a big, large floral, but it was fun because I added some gold spatters and spills and whatnot to it. I've been wanting to do a big close-up of a flower. And this could be any color. I shades of purple. I don't know why. It could be really nice in pinks or reds or whatever. And that's a recording that will go out to the members today. It comes with the tracers of all different sizes. It comes with a color chart. And then next week we will paint. We're going to paint together live for the next 2 Mondays. What are we doing anyways? I have to remember what we're doing. We've got lots of, Charlotte, you probably know more than me. We're doing, sea turtles. And, well, I'll put pictures out there so you can see them. But we're doing some fun pieces. I know we're doing sea turtles. We're doing this one. And it's going to come to me the minute I go offline. But I'm not going to keep you guys any longer. I really appreciate you being here. I popped on last minute. Generally, I try to give you a notice. If you want to get an email information on what I'm doing and where and when, just message me your email. I also have a private community, and I will, you know what, I'm going to put that right now into the link, because if you want to join me over there, I have a free community, and it's also where the membership is, but it's kind of nice because you will not have all the distractions of some of the social media. It's pretty much, we have a discussion feed like this. I go live sometimes, and also the videos are over there. I will give you that link if I can find it. Here it is. I'm going to give you a couple links. I'm going to give you the link to the community so you can join that free community if you want to. But I'll also, if anyone has any idea, wants any information about the membership, it's really kind of fun. It's a nice little group, a very creative group. It's great just for the group alone. Nice, creative people who are there to support and help you. It's very reasonable. It's less than a paint night, and we do 3 things a month, and you have access to those, to anything that we've done for the last almost 3 years, I think, is in there. So there's a library of animal designs, floral designs, landscapes. Oh, plein air. That's the other thing we're doing. So people have been interested in my plein air painting. So we are going to do a demo on my setup, and we're going to paint one of my plein air pieces. So that's it. And I am so happy to paint with you guys. I usually come on Mondays with a scheduled recording. I didn't. I'm probably going to be on later in this week. I believe I am on this week on Thursday. Yep, 8:30 in the morning, early on Thursday. So anyways, thank you guys for being here, and send me any questions or anything. Hey, Pam, hello, nice to see you. I just popped on to do a quick little live to show you how to paint these guys. Come on, switch. Little sunset background with the broken color. Okay, I'm going to go off to a meeting now, and you can always contact me or message me, and I'll see you soon. Thank you guys for stopping in. Have a great day.